Hello world, and welcome to a very exciting new episode of the Little Bit Different podcast with your host, Corey Sterling. That's me. What's up? Happy New Year's, y'all. I hope that the year is off to a great start and that you had a good New Year celebration, whatever that is, whatever you did. I'm currently in a very, very, very small, remote beach town on the Pacific Ocean in Colombia, where the jungle meets the ocean. And there's one restaurant that sometimes has food, and there's just nothing going on here. And my buddy Ricardo brought me here, and I'm so grateful to him because this has been such an incredible place to bring in a new year and have time and space to stop and think. And I was just in Medellin for 5 days, which was like sort of the complete opposite. Medellin being complete sensory overload, so many things going on at once, such a busy, hectic city, delicious food, fun amusements, great adventures, cultural museums, everything that's amazing about Colombia, Medellin has. But also here, the beach town I'm in now is called Nuquí, and it's a real crazy trip to get here. We took a regional airplane. It was pretty small. And then you land at the airport. I can say this was like the smallest and most rustic, random airport I've ever been. We're in the Choco region, which is the poorest region in Colombia, but also it's the one with the most connection to African culture. And it's like the African cultural hub for Colombia is here in this particular state. And Nuquí feels like the airport, it's like someone's living room. You walk out, you're on the street. It's not what we think of when we think about airports. And then from there, you take about an hour boat ride to get to this remote beach, which has just been inspiring and fun and beautiful and so relaxing. And yeah, there's nothing like just being able to walk on the beach to go everywhere. And it's also wonderful being in a place where there's nothing to do. So that's a little bit what's going on my end. But more importantly, I wanted to record this podcast and share a little bit about some of the processes that I go through when it comes to planning for a year. And obviously now we're in 2025. So my last episode, I spoke a little bit about my process for closing a year out. And I will say that I think it's really important to close the year before you start thinking about 2025. So really come to terms with 2024, write about it. What were the best moments? Look through the photos. What lit you up the most? What got you most excited? What were the moments that felt most worthwhile while you were alive? And just be aware of those and acknowledge those and know that those should be the markings on the map of where you want to take this upcoming year. And when it comes to goal setting for a new year, obviously there's a lot of different processes that someone can use. And I think that, like everything I say, the most important thing is to come up with something that's organic, something that you feel connected with the best, and find what works for you. And I'm going to share a couple of different methods or philosophies or approaches that I have in how I take care of this and how I do this. Maybe some will be good, maybe some won't be, but it's up to you to decide. The first thing that I want to start off with, and I'm going to lead talking about, is just a little bit about my process of how I write down what I want to achieve in an upcoming year and what that looks like. So without further ado, here's your sort of step-by-step walkthrough process, questions to think about when it comes to creating for the new year. Now we're at the tabula rasa, the clean slate of what it is that we want to create for the future. And obviously it's a super exciting point. Sometimes it can feel a little bit overwhelming because maybe there's so many things that you feel that you want to create. Maybe you have no idea what it is that you want to create. It can be anywhere in between. And so the first thing that I'll say is whenever I set any goals, when I'm in my phases of writing down weekly goals and monthly goals and quarterly goals and annual goals, or if I'm doing something big picture like this with just annual goals, I'll always break my goals down into different sections. So for me, usually that will be financial, it'll be business, it'll be health and physical fitness, it'll be growth, learning, and experiences, and it'll be family, friends, social would be my fifth. The way that I always start writing whenever I start is I'll just write a whole bunch of random shit down. So this is my phone. I don't know if you have one, but I have a phone and I'll just start and I'll put random shit down for 2025 wish list. And it'd be like, okay, cool. It'd be awesome to earn this much money or spend time in these places or learn this or have my finances be in this position or have my physical fitness be in this position. And I'll just go, and the first step of the whole process will just be sitting and putting things down somewhere. So just wherever I am, I could be on a bus, I could be on a plane, I could be lying in my bed. I'll just be like, oh, like that would be sort of rad and super cool if I could do that in this upcoming year. And I'll put all of those down there. Then the next step is sometimes I'll review it and I'll be like, oh, like what did I write down? Or, something sporadically comes to mind. Then there will be some point where there will be some formal organization where I'll take all of the different things that I wrote down of what I wanted to create and I'll break it down into different categories. So the categories of financial, of physical, of spiritual, of personal development, of personal relationships and friendships and family. And I'll just sort of put this would be fun to, not miss a birthday could be something cool, or to learn a new sport could be something cool, or to have my finances be in this particular position would be cool. And then I just go and I put all of those things down there. What I'll do once I have my list in the different areas of different things that I want to accomplish or what it is that I'm looking to do, I'll run all of them through some form of filter. And I won't necessarily do this at one particular moment where I'm like, okay, this is my moment to review my goals and put them through a filter. But I will take a moment for anything that I've written down and think about, why is it important for me to do that? Why would I want to, how would I feel if I accomplished this? And what would accomplishing this mean for me in my life? What exactly would it do? And I think what this is really, really helpful is that it just makes me think twice about any particular goal that I'm making or any particular thing that I want to accomplish. And it's like, okay, do I really want to do this? Is this, would this be something that I could look back on and be like, yeah, that Corey, you made the most of being alive by taking these particular decisions? Or is it something that maybe I'd be like, no, I think I just want to do that because I think it would look cool, or maybe other people would think I'm cool if I do it, or a whole suite of external influences or anything related to that. So I think that filtration system is really, really important in terms of you getting clarity on yes, this is actually something worth pursuing. This is a goal that I want to achieve. And I imagine that if I do achieve it or make it happen, that I'd feel really, really great about it. Now, as an example, for me, one of the goals that I've decided for this upcoming year is that every quarter, and I feel like a grown-up, like a corporate adult, but I don't know, I've gotten down into breaking my life into 3-month increments. But every quarter, I want to do a new challenge. And I know that for 2025, in the first quarter, I want to go to Thailand and participate for 30 days in a Muay Thai kickboxing camp. And that's something that I think is really cool. And so, okay, I write it down. I'm like, Muay Thai. Why Muay Thai? Okay, I've been kiting for the last couple of years. I know I'm constantly stretching and I'm meditating and I'm doing this and I'm doing all these things, but Muay Thai comes up. And now the question is now I have that goal. I'm aware of that goal. And then I think okay, why do I want to do this? How will I feel when I do it? Will I grow as a person? Will it help me? And when I pass it through all of those things, the resounding answer was just a fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, Corey. I want to go live in Thailand somewhere for a month and focus my time during the day on doing a Muay Thai, training camp where I train 1 to 2 times a day, find a teacher, stretch with them, do back. I don't even know what's involved, but I just know that it will help me become disciplined. It will be a memorable experience. I'm sure it will shift some perspective that I have in my life. And ultimately, I believe that this will make me a better person.
Hello, world. This is Corey from A Little Bit Different Podcast. I'm going to tell you a statistic now. You're not going to believe it. Only 22% of people who listen to the Little Bit Different Podcast actually subscribe or like the channel. So right now, I'm on a mission to to get 250 subscribers to the channel by the end of the year. Will you help me? I'm hoping that the answer is yes. So please, anytime you watch any of our content, subscribe, hit subscribe, that whole button there, and like it and share it and keep being different and having the most fun ever.
Why the filtration system for the goals is really, really important once you have everything is because it gives you the opportunity to ask yourself, like, oh, is this just something I think is cool, or will it actually benefit me, and what is my intention going into it? So that's like, in terms of writing things down, it's a varied step process where, at least for me, it's never been like off the bat, oh cool, this is how much money I want to earn, and this is how many hours I want to work, and this is who I want to help, and this is how I want to do it. I'll just brain dump everything on a piece of paper, put it into different categories, and be like, yeah, in this year of being alive, would I feel awesome about life and the opportunities that I had in front of me if I did these things? And so I think that it's really, really important to share all of that. The next piece as it relates to this, and this is connected to the 2025 goals, I just want to say something about beliefs and limiting beliefs and where the goals should be set. And I believe that it's really important to set, what do they call it? BHAG goals, big, hairy, audacious goals. I forget what book that's from. Good to Great, or one of those, sort of self-help type books, which are incredibly helpful. And what I've noticed with myself is the best goals that I can set are ones that are a stretch, that I'm not comfortable with, that I'm like, oh, I've never done this before. It has to be something that I've never done before. I think there's some connection between growth when you can enter uncharted territory. But in addition to that, it has to be something that I believe is possible to achieve. So I think that there are two extremes when they're setting goals, or big, hairy, audacious goals. And I don't know, maybe I'm not a big, hairy, audacious goal guy, but I'm more of a little bit of a stretch goal type of person, in the sense that I want a goal that stretches me out, but not something that makes me feel like I can't do it. So when I was working on the amount of money that I wanted to earn for 2025, I had to choose a number that made me feel uncomfortable and that is in a place that I've never been before, but something that I could foresee and reasonably believe within my limiting beliefs that it is possible. And I think that piece is so big, because originally I wrote down a number and then I was just like, I have no idea how I would ever do that. I don't know how that would happen. And it's not so, that second number wasn't so different from the number that I set, that I finalized and have decided on. But I just share that because for me, and every individual is different. For me, when I'm looking at some sort of goal or creating something that is outside of my comfort zone, something that I've never done before, it's something different, it's going to stretch me, it's going to require me to be a different person. When I think about that, it has to also be something that I believe that I can do. So I'm not saying, for me in my financial life, I'm not saying like, oh, next year I'm going to have $10 million. And like, maybe and I guess there's also that fine line between what you really want and what goals you set. For me, like $10 million would be awesome, but like, I'm not really going after them. That's not really my play. My play is to continue to have a very balanced lifestyle where I can have unique experiences, grow as a person, nurturing relationships, becoming a better leader for my team and as an individual, and also having a particular amount of financial support that I can enjoy the present moment and also plan for the future. And so I just say that limiting beliefs it's worthwhile to spend time focusing on limiting beliefs and reading books about limiting beliefs, because if you can push through that, you can get to that next level. And usually the only thing that's standing between you and the thing that you want to create next year is a limiting belief that it can't be done, or that it has to be really difficult to be done, or it's something that you could never do and that you're not worthy of it or you don't deserve it. So I did just want to make a point of talking about limiting beliefs, and also in the theme of this goal setting, being mindful to set something that it's not realistic because you've never done it before. So it's still stretching you and difficult and challenging, but it's also something that you believe can happen and you could see it happening and you feel good about it happening. When I look back on my 2024 goals, and this is like one of the craziest things that happened or that's happening, I set financial goals in 2024, which were at the time, which were totally out of my comfort zone, things that I'd never done before, levels I'd never achieved. And I hit all of my financial goals within 95% accuracy, which means maybe in one, I was 105% instead of 100. In another, I might have been 90 instead of 100. But in different areas, my financial goals were like within 95% of what I set. And that's all that you need to know about goals. And obviously the normal question is, Corey, why don't you just choose a bigger number or something different? But there is that fine balance of choosing something that's realistic, that has never happened before, that's going to require you to be a different person to achieve, but that you also deep down inside of you believe can happen. And I've shared this with very, very few people, what my specific goal was and how I achieved it. And it's just, to me, it's mind-boggling that at the end of a year, with all of the hundreds of thousands of variables going on with everything, the fact that I can land like directly right at the doorstep of a financial goal just proves to me is that it's more about setting the right type of goal and working towards it and having faith and believing it than it is about just choosing anything randomly. Like, obviously, if I set a goal and I achieved it, and I like exactly achieved it, for me, it's too mystical and it's too incredible for that just to be luck. Like, to me, I can't believe that I set these goals for myself and and just luckily I happen to almost arrive exactly at what that amount is. So choosing something that challenges you, that stretches you, that requires you to develop a new belief, but also something that you believe can accomplish. Now, the biggest question that needs to be confronted when it comes to setting these new goals and realizing that, okay, it's going to be a stretch goal. It's going to require you to be a little bit different than you've been. You're going to have to do new things in order to get new results. There's one question that I always ask myself, and through whatever books I'm reading or people who are supporting me or coaches that I have or whatever it is, there's always one question that I come back to. And that question is, who would I have to be in order to achieve these particular things? What sort of person would I have to be to achieve the things that I want to achieve? And so as an example, okay, I'll give a personal example that I have for 2025. For one of my physical goals, my physical health goals for 2025, I want to be able to do a forward fold where my forehead is touching my shins. So I want to be able to bend. I definitely can't do it now, but if this is me, I'm just bending over and my forehead is touching my shins. Now, that's something that's difficult for me where I am now, but this is what I know. I know that I can do it. I know that I have no physical limitation that would prevent me from doing it, even though right now I'm not remotely close to being able to do that. And B, I know that in order to do that thing, I would need to be the person who has a dedicated stretching routine every single morning and commits 30 to 45 minutes a morning to stretch, for physically stretching. That's the only thing that I know. And so because I know that, okay, if I want to achieve this big, hairy, audacious goal, I keep using the term, it's just stuck in my head for some reason. If I want to be the person who does that, I know that I have to be a person who wakes up and before they do anything really else in the morning, stretches for 30 to 45 minutes. And now, cool, so I have my goal and I realize who I have to be in order to achieve that goal. And then what I'm solving for is not the end goal or the final deliverable of being able to have my forehead touch my shins, but instead I'm thinking, what do I have to do to be the person who is able to stretch for 30 to 45 minutes in the morning? So I probably would have to find a coach. I'd have to develop a routine. I'd have to do some form of assessment to see where I currently am. I'd have to follow these things. All of these different things come to mind. And the reason why it's so important to do this is because there are so many things about the final goal that I'm not able to control, but everything about the daily habits and routines of who that person has to be is involved. So one of those things for sure is I know that in Muay Thai training that flexibility is a very, very big part of it, and stretching is a big part of it. So I'm already committing to doing something different that I normally don't do. Like normally I spend my time kite surfing, which is probably not so conducive for stretching your body. I do stretch every day, but I'm only stretching now about 15 minutes a day, so I want to increase that. But the point is just being that who do I have to be in order to achieve this? That's how I break it down. If I wanted to achieve this, I would have to be the type of person who stretches for 30 to 45 minutes. And that's what I would, as an example, that's something that I would do. If I think about my financial goal, what I have set myself up for is a series of things that I have to do every single day. So I have to do those things every day. And as long as my belief is that if I do those things and I show up 365 days in a row to do this particular work in that particular way, I will be able to achieve my professional goals. I have no doubt, zero doubt at all whatsoever. Now, is it easy doing those things 365 days? No, that's not an easy thing to do. But I've realized that in order to find a way to achieve this goal, the person who would be able to achieve the financial goal that I'm setting is someone who is disciplined enough to show up every single day, to constantly study, to constantly read, to invest in people, to invest in himself. And all of that is very, very clear to me. So whenever it comes to goal setting, for me, this whole question of who would I need to be in order to achieve this? What sort of person? I sort of start there, and then I break it down like, well, that person would have to this, and would have to be this, and would have to do this, and would have to think about this, and all of those different variables are part of it. So it's something that is really, really helpful for me, and it's always a point of reference. And sometimes, like, I'm not that person, and if I'm not achieving my goals or working towards achieving my goals, I wonder why not. And it's like, oh yeah, now I know why not, because I'm not doing the things that I know are the things that require for this to be done. When you think about who you have to become in order to achieve something, I also want you to think another question, which is a really helpful prompt for me when I think about these goals and what I want to accomplish and how I want to do it. And that is, how would it be impossible for me to fail? And this is like a bit of an intake on inversing or reverse engineering a particular outcome or what it is that you're trying to create. But how would it be impossible for me to fail? So as an example, with the stretching, I'm 100% certain that if I could find the appropriate stretching routine to open my hips and my hamstrings, that I did that every single day for 30 to 45 minutes, I believe that it would be impossible to fail. And I had a coach. I'd probably need a coach as well to help guide me and check in, and I don't know where in the world I'm going to find that person or how I'm going to do it. But as an example, like going to do Muay Thai for a month, I think would probably help with my flexibility, and I'm sure I could learn from some really interesting people who have different experiences stretching bodies about what that could look like. And so connected to this idea of how could it be impossible to fail, this is the part where I put in the different systems and support in order to make it impossible to fail. So if I think about the business goals that I want to achieve, and if I break that down into like, how could I make it impossible? Like, it's not going to happen that I fail at this particular goal. I have a list of things that I know that I have to do on a daily basis, that if I do those things, I won't fail. Like, if I study, if I follow everything that my coach tells me to do, I know that I can achieve my business goals and probably drastically exceed my business goals if I'm able to do that. So when you realize that there is a way for you to set your goals up so that it's impossible for you to fail, you just then have to go back and think, what are the system, processes, and resources available to me in order to do that? Let's say, as an example, someone wanted to grow an investment portfolio, or someone wanted to learn a new language. Let's say learn a new language. I think that's more on brand for the Little Bit Different podcast. Okay, if I wanted to learn a new language, how could I make it impossible to fail from learning a new language? I'll tell you what you do. You have to fly to a place in the world where no one speaks your language except for that language that you're trying to learn. Go there for 3 months, get a tutor, and study with a tutor every day. That's it. Like, you've just learned a brand new language. Now, that's not easy to do, and some of us have lives where we don't have that flexibility, or we're not prioritizing learning a new language above everything else, but that actually, it would be impossible to fail. If you went to a place where people only speak that language and no one speaks the language that you speak, it actually would be impossible to fail if you stayed there for 6 months, as an example. And I know that because that's how I learned Portuguese. It wasn't such a clear-cut intention no, it probably was, actually, now that I think back. I probably had 1 year where I was like, this year I want to become fluent in Portuguese. Anyways, the point of what I'm trying to share is that there are certain things that you can do for your goals to make it impossible to fail. And some of them can really be grandiose and extreme, like moving to a new country or living in a new place where no one speaks your language, which for a lot of people is daunting and scary and terrifying. But also it can be something more basic, like making sure that I meditate 10 minutes a day, or making sure that I read, 2 books a month on self-development and I follow everything that's written in those books. And when it comes to goal setting and you think about the systems and the support and the resources available to you, hiring a coach in any particular area is always a really, really good idea. Lifestyle coach, a stretching coach, a kite surfing coach, a business coach, whatever it is that you want to create, having a coach along with you for the journey probably is one of the most important things that you can do to make it impossible to fail. And just consistency. Consistently showing up for what it is that you're doing. And so I want to just sort of wrap up this little notion by sharing that, like, okay, if we look at everything that I've spoken about, we don't have to write all of our goals down at once, but just like brain dump them. And then once you have a goal, stop and think, like, is this really going to help me become the person who I want to be? Is this part of my purpose, my mission in life? Is this aligned with the, person that I want to become? Once you go through that list, you can break it into categories. You do it however you want. You have a look at limiting beliefs that you have. And is this goal outside of your comfort zone? Is it going to require you to transform and become a better version of yourself? But is it also set to a point, is the thermostat like a little bit higher to the point that it takes you out of your comfort zone and requires change, but you also feel really comfortable in like that you can achieve it? You can actually believe that this new change can take place. The next question is, who do I have to be to achieve this? What sort of person would be able to achieve this? Then we look at systems and support. How would it be impossible to fail? And resources. What would I have to do? And I think all of this together is a really, really, really solid starting point for coming up with goals for the year. It could be 3 goals. It could be 12 goals. It could be anything in between. But this is the process that I use when I figure out what do I want to create? How do I want to get there? As I bring this in for a close and wrap up this first episode for 2025, I do want to share one invitation. I have one invitation for you that maybe will light you up. Maybe you'll be excited by it, maybe not. But what I will say is, like, for the year, try to do something that scares the crap out of you. Because really, really, really good things come when you do things that scare the crap out of you. And you become a different and more evolved version of yourself. Obviously, I'm not saying to be reckless, but the reason why I share this final point is, for me, I learned a lot when I went through my 2024 process. And I looked through, like, where did I feel the most alive? Where did I feel the most fulfilled? What are the memories that I take with me? What really counts? And when I noticed that in all of those, all of the biggest transformations, it was always something that required me to complete something or to do something that I didn't feel comfortable with, but that was aligned with the person who I want to become. And there's so much magic that takes place in that little gray area zone of, this is sort of who I am, but not really. But by doing this, I'm going to be the version of myself who I want to be. And I know for me what that line is, and that's why I'm setting myself up with some challenges and fun and interesting, exciting things to do when I travel the world and in different countries. But I just share it because all of the magic will come from doing something that scares you and something that is difficult. And it's a heartfelt share, and there's no scale of better or worse of things to do. You're the only one who knows. But the growth that you experience when you do something that's difficult and puts you out of your comfort zone is that much more. So I want for all of us to grow. I want us to enjoy and have fun and be love and love each other and love ourselves and be kind and have the most magical year ever. So whatever it is that you are doing, stay different, have fun, and set epic goals and crush them. Enjoy the process of getting towards it. That is the reason we are alive. Peace.